the drama. I'm more like what I'm becoming. It's more like we overcoming. Painting a picture so lovely. I'm using all of the colors. Get hide away from the darkness. Digging up what's undercover. Do you know I see it closet? All of these struggles, I swear I dispel it. All of this strife, I swear I repel it. All of this poverty, I swear I inherit it. All of this violence, yeah, we repair this. Are we prepared for the rise of an empire? And are we prepared for the fall of a system? Everything we know was a lie. Patch myself up from the root to the crown. In the efforts to preserve my bloodline, I would do anything for my soul tribe. Burn this shit down on the scribe, inscribing all of the light that I've been manifesting. And now I'm tired of waiting. All this time we wasted, all these sacrifices. Put it down in writing, more than qualified to achieve all I desire. My words the candle, light up the fire. I'm on my way. I swear I inherited all of this violence. Yeah, we repair this. Are we prepared for the rise of an empire? And are we prepared for the fall of a system? Everything we know was a lie. Patch myself up from the root to the crown. In the efforts to preserve my bloodline, I would do anything for my soul tribe. Burn this shit down on the scribe, inscribing all of the light that I've been manifesting. And now I'm tired of waiting. All this time we wasted, all these sacrifices. Put it down in writing, more than qualified to achieve all I desire. My words the candle, light up the fire. I'm on my way.
For the team, took a bullet for the dream that we would one day all be free, free from prejudice, free from sexism, free from bigotry. I die for creativity, yeah. I die for freedom to be free. I died and left a legacy. Oh, but baby, I still live through technology. After the sun, comes the rain. Yeah. And after the storm, the sun will start shining. Blessings of faith.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing well on this Monday evening, okay? Now, I'm not going to be visual tonight, no shade. I kind of just felt compelled by the spirit to do this. I know currently on this platform we have been very, very serious about a lot of the fear-mongering and distractions that are put in place to keep humanity fighting with each other. And I'm always vigilant about that. Always. It's always on my mind. What can I do to help contribute to humanity? But that question every day always opens another door for some sort of information to come in that literally answers the questions that I have, or at least puts me on the path or reminds me that I'm on the right path in reference to what I can contribute to humanity. Okay, what's going on, Queen Stevie? What's going on? First of all, shout out for y'all being in the building and rocking with me through my commentary. Please make sure you hit the like button to help this channel grow, okay? We on the road to 1K. Today, while I was working out, I decided to go through my watch later playlist, because there'll be things that I see on YouTube to where I'm like, okay, I may not be able to watch it right now, but I can watch it later. Amidst also being sent stuff, again, shout out to Queen Stevie, who says that you sent a lot of stuff in the group chat, and I know it's gonna be a lot to to definitely take in. And we definitely gonna continue to do what we're going to continue to do what we will continually do what we've been doing here on BubzDaGawd. But as I was working out, I was going through my watch later list, and I follow this YouTube channel that takes certain video game concepts and stories and lore and finds a way to bridge the gap into the real world experiences that kind of makes you think, more of a philosophical type of thing. And I love philosophical type of stuff, to make you think, to make you question yourself, because I feel like that makes you better. And one of the things that they were talking about, which I know that the Christian church at large definitely hates and has told us to demonize. Okay, not you saying tongue tied. You should already know, Queen Stevie, I'm gonna have moments where Andrew gonna try to ride my tongue. I already told y'all that. Okay. But it talked about a process known as alchemy. Alchemy. That is girl, what the fuck? Alchemy is a process, I believe, in my opinion, again, subjective opinion, that so many great men and women, human beings, have been able to tap into in reference to their greatness. And the only way that you're able to tap into your greatness is that you have to realize that you are the missing piece. Organized religion at large has not taught us to really love ourselves. It has taught us that we are dirty, filthy ass rags, that only parishioners who are ordained by God can lead you to salvation, when in all actuality, the journey to salvation is really yours, and it's what you make it. Now, you can have information to help you on this journey, but organized religion at large wants to control the narrative and think for you so that you don't have to think. Which is why the fear-based narrative that a lot of humans are playing into, especially in America with the whole Project 2025 situation and with white Christian nationalism, that is a fear-based thing. They literally want to force people to believe what they want to believe, even through the harsh expression of death and unaliving of people that we've seen historically. So things are getting serious, or shall we say humanity's at the crossroad once again, like it's done plenty of times during humanity. The question this time is, are we going to continue the cycle of destruction, or are we going to do something different? I was listening to a podcast again by CTV, shout out to him, along with other people on the platform, and they were saying something along the lines of, in the midst of this darkness that we're dealing with now, or that's coming, that's foreboding, the ultimate showdown in reference to this era of humanity, that this also might be the chance for true, genuine change, because I want y'all to understand something. And this is a common theme that I've kind of picked up on all these different panels, despite our difference of opinions and beliefs, is that this system is about to fall. It's about to fall. Karmic debt has finally made its way around to America. And destruction is going to be the end result for all Americans. But when you look at it from a spiritual, more objective perspective, destruction is a part of creation. And the way that these individuals with this Christian nationalist agenda, their form of destruction is getting rid of all of these people, because if we don't get rid of all these people, then it means that everything that we've invested in reference to this system, in reference to organized religion, that it will all be in vain. And I would rather unalive y'all than to deal with the objective reality that I have been lied to. Any system that tells you that you need them in order for you to ascend is a system you don't want to support. If anything, the system is there to help you, to assist you in certain ways, but not do the work for you. This system wants to do the work for you so that you don't have to, so that when shit hits the fan, you don't even know what to do, because you gave your power away. Now, in the midst of these conversations, we are talking about queerness also, because queerness is a part of Project 2025 and is also on the ballot. And I kind of want to help draw, I don't want to say a line in the sand, shall I say? I ain't gonna say that. But I want to make it perfectly clear from a spiritual perspective on how queerness is a part of this experience. Because again, from a lot of Christian perspectives, if God did not want it to exist, it has no problem removing what it is that it does not want to exist. The gag is that God, source, universe, consciousness wants this experience here, has allowed for this experience and experiences to be here in the past, today, and forever. It's just that, matter of fact, I'm not even gonna tell y'all. I'm gonna let y'all see it for yourself. But before we get into the two videos that we have for tonight's live, let me go ahead and do the smart thing really quick. 1 second. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All the videos, songs, images, and graphics used in this live belong to their respective owners, and BubzDaGawd does not claim any rights over them. Now, before we get into the video, let me read y'all comments real quick. Queen Stevie says, yeah, it's a lot going on. Child, my anxiety is at an all-time high. I told Deshaun after this, I'm probably going to take a 7-month vacation after this. I don't blame you. Queer people are tired of setting foot in church in a place where it's supposed to be solace and being beat with the Bible and shunned for being who we are. And to the queer people who are confirming, I'm just reading how it's put. I'd rather walk in the light than to live in the darkness of a lie. He picked his new VP today, and he is anti-queer, even more dangerous than Mike Pence. Well, in the midst of the fear, I'm here to help y'all as well. Because when there's a will, there's definitely a way. The reason why it's fear-based is because we've been so invested, also consciously and unconsciously, into feeding into fear and thinking that we need someone to save us. And I'm telling y'all right now, ain't nobody coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. But when we've been relying on a system that's been telling us to rely on them for so long, now that we're getting to this revelation, a lot of people are not going to mentally survive it. So this is the time that should be most important, which is community, which is about love, universality, bringing things together, finding the gray area. A lot of people don't believe in the gray area because they don't see themselves in it, because they're either too black or too white. No, baby, this is humanity. Humanity even transcends color. Spirituality even transcends color. Humanity transcends color too. But anyway, the first video that we're going to take a listen to right now is from a YouTube channel called The Alchemist. Shout out to her. And again, the links for the videos in this live is in the description box below if you want to listen to them without my commentary and pausing. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Let's talk about how we're part of this experience. Let's go.
Homosexuality has been one of the human experience's most shameful, conflicting, taboo, forsaken, and scandalous themes. Because of this, the baseline for homosexuality has been one of self-loathing. The link between self-loathing and homosexuality is so prominent that gays are faced with two journeys in this life instead of just one. Learning how to embrace our nature even when it's supposedly against nature itself, and sorting through the aspects of ourselves to discover which we fabricated to hide our true self from the world and which we actually identify with.
That part right there. What she said was facing the fear, a way that I interpret it as well. Okay, because it's also my channel, so I'm objective and give it subjective. But the fact that realizing that in this world, the narrative at large around queerness, especially in the black community, that's still strong, that's still conservative, that's still traditional in a sense, creates this narrative that you are shameful, that is shameful, that's disgusting, that's against nature. All these things, but yet you're still having your own unique natural experience. So there is some conflict going on, which a lot of us can attest to, of having moments, especially in our youth, trying to find the balance. But instead, all we found and dealt with was depression. To where, again, there were some queer people who didn't make it. So it's also working through that aspect and then just finally accepting, which will sound pretty blasphemous, especially if a person of organized religion would hear, but if I'm going to hell for being gay, then I guess I'm going to hell then. You start to accept, again, the one thing that they thought that you weren't going to openly accept. That the fear tactic of do this or go to hell, that you will be scared and do what they say to do, instead of saying, well, I guess if that's the case, I'm gonna go. And then they end up being shooketh about that. But then it's like, did y'all forget that Christ also went to hell too before he ascended into heaven according to the narrative? So it's dealing with that. And then when you finally build a strong enough foundation to stand in your truth, now, like she said and she mentioned, now you have to sift through your life and some of the brokenness and then remove what's not for you, that was fabricated out of self-defense in order to survive, and what aspects are really you. And I love how she's able to break this down, because she breaks it down objectively. There'll be some things that she will say that a lot of people in the red pill community would be like, see, I told y'all, as if though we sat there and denied, we actually agreed with them. But the gag is that she's going to offer the two things can be true at the same time situation. And I want y'all to hear what she has to say. Okay, let's continue.
Naturally, all of this would serve a very important purpose to the larger nature of reality. So today I'm going to be sharing what the higher dimensional role of homosexuality is. And at the end of this video, I will share why there are so many homosexuals in the world today and what program we need to overcome. Homosexuality is like the Mulholland Drive of the soul's journey. The confusion overpowers the arousal, or barely. It is never more accessible to live a lie than when we are faced with our own sexual orientation. It's just all too encompassing. So homosexuality puts a being at very high stakes choice points over and over again. It either forces us to retreat deep into a facade for our own protection, or it strips us of all pretense and warps us into the shadowland, confronting us with aspects of the whole collective psyche that shame has buried deep away. Which eventually makes for really good art, but is pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Gays are intentionally put between a rock and a hard place very early on. They are faced with themes that don't really have to be contemplated by the average person, such as, did we in fact choose this? If we did not, does that mean a higher power hates us? Are we victims of existence, or a punchline of an inside joke? They are forced into contemplation over concepts that would normally never occur to a heterosexual, like, what is gender? What does family really mean? Simple concepts that we all take for granted, as well as mental constructs, are challenged and drawn into question more from the self-discovery that our orientation provokes. All of this is done in isolation and blindfolded, since the world surrounding the homosexual does not mirror back to them any validation, let alone instructions for what's happening in their inner world, until they are old enough to run off to some major city and have at it.
That part. No shade. You will hear a lot of queer people saying, myself included, that they had to leave the church. They had to leave organized religion, or better yet, accept the exile that came with them walking in their truth. Where in organized religion, it would teach you that if you go into exile, you will die. You will not survive. And if you do survive, you will become subjected to whatever is in exile, where all the nasty, dark things are at, or from a spiritual perspective, all of the elements of humanity that we're afraid of and that we don't know how to love. And instead of working through that, we'll just throw it to the side. I.e., for queer people, the closet was a dark space. Exile, the closet basically is a place of exile, a place of shame. And like she mentioned, there was no healthy representation of what queerness was for us in our adolescence. I wish that I could have had this experience that a lot of individuals have in this reality right now that is being attacked, because my life probably would have turned out differently than what it is now. But because I went through that experience, I have one sort of, I guess, advantage, if you will, that a lot of other queer people today don't have, is that I'm able to push myself to in the dark moments. And that's really a human situation, to be honest. But in the context of this live, it's about queerness, and we need more of that. And as you can see, because there's more queer representation, or there is more eroding of fear when it comes to these conversations with young people, so that they don't make the same mistakes we've done and they can actually be better, all of a sudden we try to stop that. And I don't know if it's because, again, a lot of people who have children really want to have children so that they can go ahead and bring another human being into this world and give them the best experience, or strengthen their foundation as much as they possibly can, so that when they go out into the world, they can do great things. But a lot of times it's more so about, oh, you're preserving my legacy. You're keeping what I have going on. You make people juniors and shit, and they don't have their own fucking identity. Or you live vicariously through your children because they have the possibility of acquiring something that you never did, and now you're trying to live through your child. But then what do you say again? I say this all the time to the queer children. Nobody wants to answer the aspect about the queer children. Everybody wants to talk about protect the kids, protect the kids, protect the children. But y'all keep failing to acknowledge a certain aspect of children, which are the queer ones, which is why, again, in this video, what she is stating is unfortunately true. But let's continue further.
Which leads us to the higher dimensional role of homosexuality.
Right.
Which is to heal an existential and collective wound that to be, in whatever that means, is wrong. If shame and self-loathing are the dominant self-concept in the gay experience, it is because this is the exact experience that will set us up to become independent from outside validation and leave us with no choice but to either reject ourselves to varying degrees or begin releasing judgments against the self that are causing us to be conditional and telling us that we ourselves are wrong. Imagine that this is the microcosm version of something bigger than life that's playing out in the macrocosm.
Right.
Imagine that parts of existence that are in denial of itself, let's call this force judgment, had convinced us that we are wrong for being. So judgment of this core wound of being wrong caused a drop in vibration low enough to cause spiritual amnesia, aka the fall, where we have become disconnected from our totality and stuck within the lower dimensions of our entire being, since we can't speed up our vibration.
I want to pause right there. Even in the Black queer community, when it comes down to actually building community, a lot of times we don't really know how to show up in that way, because again, we never was really given, and I'm saying at large, not all of us, so I'll just say at large just to be fair and objective. But if you did not come from a place or a space where you had community, where you had someone loving you and affirming you in this world, you don't know what community is for real. But because of it being the queer community, and again, as we're gonna see later on in the live, the to me, the energetic or spiritual aspect of sex, regardless of whether it's whatever its expression is, whether it's through queer sex, heterosex, whatever the case may be, how we've even been taught to utilize that in a low vibrational way that becomes an addiction, instead of learning how to utilize that in a way that is fruitful and life-giving. And I mean that not just in the way of procreation, because sex is not made just for procreation. There are other spiritual aspects that are granted to all of humanity to utilize. The sexual energy is the strongest life force in existence. So we're going to get more into that as well. But anyway, I think that for us, when it comes down to the realm of sex, that's where we feel the most validated in. Oh, look at how snatched my body is. Oh, look at how fat my ass is, big my dick is. Look at we do all of these superficial things to garner a partner or to attract a partner, but yet we don't know how to maintain that in a healthy way, so we utilize sex a lot. For example, when it's Pride Month, let's use Pride Month. Amidst all the other beautiful things that are happening at Pride, despite some of the other things that I do feel like should be behind closed doors, or at least section off if it's more kinky and in the realm of sexual act stuff, should be behind closed doors. But For example, there will be a lot of people that are community organizations that will be there who have paid to have their booth there and spent money on all this stuff to help inform the community. And a lot of times when they do things like free seminars to help the queer community, not just in the way of it being sensationalized and, oh, I can get likes and views and clicks off this shit, but something that really ministers to your mind and to your soul for real. A lot of times there isn't a lot of queer people there, but let there be an adult entertainer, the latest, hottest, newest, freshest adult entertainer gonna be at club so-and-so. It's packed beyond capacity to where they can't let anybody else in, girl, that if the fire department come, girl, the whole shit getting shut down. And the thing is, for queer people, we have fallen, a lot of us have fallen to the illusion of accepting what a lot of heterosexual people have said about queer people. Oh, y'all just sexual, that's it. It's just sexual, it's just sexual. Look at the last individual we used in reference to him being ex-queer. He said that he had a physical and lustful attraction to men. He saw men as meat, not as another human being, not as another body that encases a soul that is willing to minister to you and you minister to it in a healthy way, but again, through the lens of society and some of the broken aspects of queerness that we have not even healed yet. Okay? So anyway, let's continue further.
Now, ideally, we would be able to come up and go as we wish, not get stuck in what is known as samsara. Well, what one would need to overcome is the initial feelings of wrongness and the judgments that came from the belief of being wrong for existing. And so one would need to have this play acting out in their microcosm world. And there are certain experiences that are better for forcing a person into healing the themes of being wrong. And homosexuality has been the perfect theme for this, because the individual is in a world designed to invalidate them. Since we are in a creating universe rather than a created one, we are conduits of energy that is in motion.
Right.
The same way source is in motion, shifting and evolving. Hence the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. Through us, source is healing judgments around it being everything. God is working through her shame of being feminine and masculine. Matter and spirit are harmonizing. These energies are meant to be reconciled within the individual as a part of our spiritual evolution.
Right.
And what's being healed from this reconciliation is a bigger than life wound within creation. So homosexuality is the pocket of the collective psyche that is healing the repression of existential self-expression.
So no wonder, again, when we look in history, again, it wasn't just black liberation. It was queer liberation, women's liberation. These groups of people that have been suppressed and have been told, this is the only way that you do it. And if you don't do it in this way, we have created a system, a world that is meant to vilify you, demonize you, ostracize you, destroy you. And you expect him to just let that happen. So with that being said, again, for a lot of black individuals, black red pill hotep individuals, from a spiritual perspective, that is the umbrella over all the other shit that we all subjectively might believe. That when you limit other expressions of people's lives, you are limiting your own expression of your own life. Which is why, again, to the narrative of the Bible with Christ, do unto others. I'm going to keep saying these things and repeat them, because pretty soon you're going to understand it. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So when you deny other people, don't sit up here and act like you can't be denied, but with this false system that is falling. Again, just like they haven't taught us or gave us the opportunity to fully self-actualize, they have to keep the fear going so that we don't wake up, because if we do, their game is over, and now they have to basically do the same thing that we had to do, or that they're banking that we don't do. They're banking on us wallowing in pain, in hurt, and because of that pain and hurt, it muddies our vision, so therefore we start operating in what really means confusion. As far as choosing things that harm you, or choosing things that help you to escape your reality to where you don't want to deal with it. And I get it. There are some times where stuff happens and we have to breathe. I get that. But it's also a lesson there to help us grow and to become better. And again, it's just so symbolic to me. She mentioned that the queer experience from a supernatural, spiritual, higher dimensional perspective, that it's one of the expressions, along with racism and all this stuff, to give us as humans the opportunity to heal and transcend from. And that the same people who claim the name Christian are doing everything that Christ did not do. Isn't that the gag?
If this were not the case, homosexuality would still exist, and its higher dimensional role would only be to learn self-love in the environment and in the reality of self-hate. This lesson is already embedded into the gay experience. But without this supernatural saga at play, our journey would be to only learn what it means to love the self deeper and fuller and at all costs, in a world where we are gaslit into believing we are wrong and should not be. This lesson is not exclusive to only coming out. It takes the form of remaining in the closet to protect oneself, because that is the reality gays have been faced with for centuries. So no one failed their soul's mission. They just learned different versions of what it means to love. Now, from a third dimensional perspective, nature operates one way.
Now, I want you to listen to this, because this is what has been said to me and other queer content creators that have been on red pill platforms. This is something that we've heard growing up in church. This is just a common theme that we heard, and I'm so glad that she acknowledges this, but again, she gives nuance as well, because again, we're talking about something that is bigger and greater than anything that we can even fucking fathom and imagine. Okay, I don't even think the term God, source, universe, consciousness, source does it genuine justice. It's just something that we can say to comprehend somewhat on this 3D reality. But listen to what she says.
And from a higher dimensional perspective, nature operates a different way. And these two perspectives work in harmony together, both simultaneously acting upon the nature of reality. For instance, the way nature operates here in the third dimension is most accurately translated through the lens of anthropology. In cultural anthropology, nature's number one concern is procreation. Only through procreation is the survival of our species ensured. Thus, above all else, reproduction is most important. We see this logic everywhere. In order to create life, there must be a male and a female counterpart.
Right.
In fact, if I had to sum up all occult symbolism, it would be dwindled down to the obelisk and the oval, which represent the male electrical prong and the female reciprocal outlet. Nature is so focused upon baby making that it will introduce limitless genetic variations in order to ensure that any one of these variations will be adaptable to survive.
Right.
And from the higher dimensional perspective, nature is far less single-minded and far more multifaceted.
Right.
Meaning that it's not only concerned with procreating, it's not even concerned with survival, since the soul is eternal. It's concerned with spiritual sovereignty and self-discovery. Because through the exploration of oneself, the soul learns more about creation. In this way, nature takes on a completely different objective.
So again, the more information that I get, it helps me to become better. I don't know if a lot of people feel, especially in the red pill community, that if your ass starts to affirm queerness and see the humanistic aspect of queer people and treat them as such, that somehow now all of a sudden we're asking for you to pull your pants down and show us what you got going on, and that is definitely not the case. So to her point, yes, this third dimension reality, you need human beings to keep life going. And even though 2 men and 2 women cannot come together and procreate, there are still ways to bring life into this world. Didn't you just hear her say that Mother Nature, God, Source, Universe, Consciousness, Creation will use limitless, what y'all would call, what's the word? It's on the tip of my damn tongue. It's on the tip of my damn alternative. It will come with different variations to ensure their survival. So again, just like how science also helps to help human beings adapt to life as well, queer people can utilize those aspects too. And there's also something known as surrogacy. Again, queer people still have the reproductive organs to bring life into this world. It's just not going to be in the way that you would do it. And that's okay. It don't have to be in the way that you do it. Be grateful that the life is being brought here. And since we're talking about the lives being brought here, can we do a better job at loving and affirming and enhancing the lives that come here? Let's continue.
So homosexuality is not against nature, since nature itself is multidimensional. What it's against are all the institutions that are trying to gain power through numbers. Since an institution such as religion can't stay in power if they are not making babies and then indoctrinating them into our belief systems. Which is why homosexuality, wearing wool fabric, and eating shellfish all ended up an abomination. Because everything that led to either anaphylactic shock or the lack of reproduction was not fit enough for an institution to maintain control through numbers. To further enhance our understanding, have you ever seen those massive fights that break out online whether homosexuality occurs in animals or not?
Before she gets into that, that's very interesting, because now what we're hearing is we need a push for children, a push for families, a push for this, a push for that, a push for this, a push for that. Meanwhile, when we see how some of these families are, especially in the black community, a lot of these black families live in dilapidated areas. They also have to deal with death and destruction, in some cases on a daily basis. But yet they're doing what they're asked. And the children, again, are being indoctrinated to believe this type of way for numbers, just like she said, to keep this tradition or to keep this way of being alive. And the fact that it has to fearmonger and use a intangible force to say that it's backed by, if you don't comply with what we say, that's not allowing God, Source, Universe, Consciousness to continue to express itself. Or if anything, it just gives it a chance to become even stronger, because what you resist will always persist. Just like she stated, on a microcosm level in our own, i.e. subjective personal lives, we had to work through that. But now that we're adults and we realize that we contribute to the collective, we also have say-so in our experiences as well. And you don't get to sit up here and to narrate our experiences of our own lives based off of a book. which is why, again, Project 2025 is very important to these people. Because 2020 showed them that, no shade, the power in God that they said they had, they didn't have it. It was all a show. It was all a bluff. They can never manifest the beautiful, fruitful, and life-giving of the mind, of the heart, of the soul experiences. These same people are the people that cannot go to a damn hospital and wave their hand walking down the damn corridors and everybody is healed. They're not walking into morgues and funeral homes of crying families and literally raising the dead. They're not doing any of those things. Where is that power? Oh, they don't have it. But the power that they do have is their false worldly power, which means that I can use this unlimited resource that I have in order to control or force you to believe what I want to believe. And if you don't, I have the liberty of being judge, jury, and executioner over your motherfucking ass. Just wanted to point that out. Now, let's listen to her explanation about animals and human beings, because it's very interesting that she says this. And I thought this too, but to keep it in the context of the conversations when I was on platforms, I used them as examples. But I'm glad she says this, because I'm like, finally,
Absolutely
shit.
does not matter at all, because we are not animals. We are a whole density above animals. What this means is that animals have less input to factor into their being. They are wired through their biology alone, the instinctual drive to procreate. Thus, they are more bound to the third dimensional function of nature, with the occasional gay penguins thrown into the mix so that humans can go fight about God online. Humans have way more free will and complexity to their being, since they are third density beings and not second density. If you'd like to know more about the densities and how they differ from dimensions, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a video explaining what densities are, if that interests you. Because humans are third density beings, our curriculum is entirely different from animals' curriculum. Comparing the two is straight up insane. We have the ability to reason, to self-reflect, and we have the capacity for higher order thinking, among too many other core differences to cover. There are two reasons there are more homosexuals now than ever before.
Now listen to why this is the case, okay? Just take a listen.
This is literally the first time in history where it's safe to be gay.
Because even when we looked back at the Hays Code of the 30s and 40s, when there was queer-coded stuff, that the queer person was always evil and malicious and all this stuff, narrative still being controlled. Even when it seems to be more awareness of queer people, they got to be shown going through some shit, some sort of horrible, tragic experience where the queer person dies. Oh, it's so sad. And again, I'm reminded of a BMU a program they had with all biological women on there who said that, and one of them said, oh, you know, when it come down to queerness, that was something to laugh at. It was nothing to want to be or affirm. It was a disgrace. So to her point, this is the first time where there is this mass awareness of this is what love looks like. And not only that, why else is there more openly queer or a bigger queer awareness now?
And it's still not safe in many places.
Yeah.
So more people are coming out of the closet because this is the first time they won't die for liking the same sex. The second reason there's more homosexuality, or even an openness in sexuality in general, is because we are chest deep in an evolution of consciousness. And when we're evolving, we're actually discovering that we contain more energies within us than what we have currently identified with. It's like one day becoming aware that you have more rooms inside your house. The house being our concept of self. Just to be clear, evolving doesn't make heterosexuals gay, and it doesn't make homosexuals straight.
That part.
It just makes us more aware of the multidimensional energies we all contain. And gays are generally more comfortable with this concept because we started off introduced to sexuality through a heterosexual paradigm.
That part.
So it's easier for us to accept that we contain a room within our being or within our house that has a lot of heterosexual activity going on.
That part.
It's a very straight room, and we can freak out or just accept that this room is not exactly our cup of tea, but that it's a part of our galactic portfolio.
Right.
And we don't need to do anything about it or even act on it. Likewise, some evolving humans are discovering that we have a lot more rooms in our house that contain more expressions of our being. And this isn't specific to sexuality, but it does include sexuality. However, the complexity doesn't even stop there. There are always two forms of expression that consciousness can take on: an organic form and a synthetic or engineered form. To understand this concept, you can watch my video, Developing Multidimensional Awareness, where I go into this in depth. Because there is an organic evolution of consciousness happening, there's also, at the very same time, a synthetic version taking place. A version that wants to pervert sexual expression and even to reject gender itself. So it's very important that we are able to discern the difference between these two energies moving forward, because the shadow side of the age of Aquarius that we will be dealing with from here on out is gender and technology. So the main challenge that homosexuals need to overcome in this era is seeing how our community is being intentionally manipulated to sign off on synthetic agendas that are trying to pass themselves off as being organic or even progressive. Because we are being used as a human shield to push artificial intelligence agendas, and they're doing it through exploiting our need to be accepted by a political paradigm. I hope this has elevated your perception of homosexuality. Make sure to...
Wow. I told y'all that everybody gonna know what it feels like to be all... They want us to keep fighting with each other. They don't want us to provide information because they know how broken we are. And they use that brokenness against us. They use it against the black community. They use it against the queer community. They create confusion between the black hetero and the black queer community to where now there are these conversations and congressional hearings where we keep saying the same thing. And I ain't gonna say nobody, because queer people always show up to those spaces. It'd be the heterosexual community at large, just to be honest, who are afraid to continue to have those conversations. But that power is inside of you. That's what I want you to realize. The awareness is inside of you, and a lot of queer people had to grow to that awareness. First of all, the fear-based awareness of, oh my God, I am gay, I am queer, which unconsciously, because of being indoctrinated by organized religion, oh my God, that's something to be, the guilt and the shame comes in. And like she stated, it's through a hetero lens. To where, again, when she was speaking about synthetic stuff, we start creating some sort of synthetic version of that by their way of thinking, as opposed to us being free enough to find our own way of being. And on a higher level, since we're talking about higher dimensional stuff, the powers that be, or this NWO that is coming into fruition, doesn't want humanity to rise, because they're afraid that humanity will rise and ascend farther than them and without them. What's up, Queen Spicy? And her show tonight, what time is her show? Is her show live now? Is it live now? because I definitely want to watch that. But the second video that we're going to look at right now is from an individual named Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if any of y'all know who he is, but he is amazing. He has this book called The Power of Now, where you can go back into the archives of my YouTube channel and you'll be able to take a listen, because we did a read through of it. But this individual was asked a question about the role of sex, and the way that he breaks down the role of sex and like how some people can fall into what is known as sexual addictions. He really breaks that down in a more universal, humanistic aspect that does not involve fire and brimstone. Okay, it's a more realistic aspect to be able to help human beings just kind of chill the fuck out about certain things and just go into this realm of awareness. And no shade, even in this realm of awareness, even for people who are ex-queer, this could obviously help them. This could possibly help them in their ex-queer journey. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the Eckhart Tolle video. And you said it's just starting? Okay, cool. We're gonna do this and then we're gonna be on our way, y'all. Let's get it.
What is the role of sex in consciousness? How should it be approached as a way to be more awake? Are lust and casual sex a detriment to consciousness? Are they always detrimental? Well, let's see if I can remember. No, sex, of course, is a wonderful thing. We could call it an addiction that nature has built into the human, so that they continue to survive as a species. Because if that addiction were not built in, that causes pleasure, if that were not built into the human body, who would engage in that absurd act?
Okay, no shade. At the end of the day, I don't give a damn if you gay, straight, or in between, or around the spectrum, or whatever. Everybody trying to bust one, okay? Everybody trying to get that moment, that that moment. And from a spiritual perspective, that is like the moment that you are the closest to God, because when you are having an orgasm, girl, in the words of Lauryn Hill, okay, and D'Angelo, nothing even matters. Nothing matters except this moment. It's just that we've been taught to not utilize that in a beautiful way. But he does bring up a certain, I guess, practice that could help people to, I guess, become more aware of their sexual energy and build that sexual energy up. And then again, as you expand your mind more, you can use that sexual energy in that heightened process, whether it's solo or with someone else, or for some of you motherfuckers that got the capacity, girl, someone else's, you know what I'm saying, that you can become a deliberate creator and use it to help elevate and low-key expedite certain manifestations you desire into your life. It's just about how you do it. But anyway, let's take a listen to Eckhart's explanation, which to me, I was like, yeah, let me include this video.
It does have because it's such a pull, it does have a tendency of making humans unconscious. You may have observed it in yourself when it takes over. It's a very strong pull that you go. Or you may go into your mind.
Okay.
So it's either out there, or you go.
The pudding pops in your flame. And the pudding.
And of course, it pulls you towards where it wants to go, which is the final orgasm. That's where it wants you to go. Tantra is an ancient Indian way of
This is it, Tantra.
engaging in sexuality without losing consciousness, but growing in consciousness through it, bringing consciousness into something that usually would make you unconscious.
Right.
And the simple thing is to become the observer at any stage, so that you, let's say the sexual impulse arises for whatever reason, you see something or think of something or someone rather, to bring awareness to it without needing to take it anywhere, to bring awareness to it and just feel it and sense it and be the awareness for it. And if you're with another person, not necessarily engage in the full act of sexuality, but even if it's just a touching, to be aware with that, bring awareness to that, to the sense perceptions, so that awareness arises even as the impulse is there, you meet it with awareness. And that's a beautiful spiritual practice, and then you don't always need to take it to the end. You can actually enjoy it more than when it takes you over and makes you unconscious. I called it an addiction. It really becomes a true addiction when it takes over your mind, and then you compulsively seek sexual partners, in which case it really pulls you towards more and more unconsciousness, and becomes it's one of the ways in which the mind seeks fulfillment and never finds it. And that's where the song implies, I can't get no satisfaction.
Satisfaction. But that is true. I agree with that aspect. That, to me, is definitely true. When you spoke about the tantric aspect, it's kind of like, the way that I look at it is, for me, foreplay. I love foreplay. I love foreplay. I love role playing. I love not just honoring, of course, obviously the physical aspect of it, but the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of it. When you're able to, and he's going to mention it as well, it's kind of like, even for me, like doing things like heavy petting and stuff like that, that helps to build the anticipation. You know, especially now, like he said, because it can be used as an addiction in reference to, I need to get this on, to where in some of my previous sexual experiences with other people, they were kind of shocked, like, you don't want to just jump right to it. It's like, no, this is the whole thing here. Or that the sexual experiences with me were different, to where they were like, well, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to someone catering to me. I'm not used to someone really making sure that I'm in it good and that I'm having a good time and enjoying it as well. It's just more so just slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, wham, pam, you done. So I think, again, with the Tantra, it gives you the opportunity to slow down and be in the moment, which, no shade, just by default, when you do get to that moment where it takes you over, it will be a more greater feeling. But the issue is, we don't know what to do in the moment of going over into that orgasm. Which is why I've mentioned before my platform, sexual magic, which means that in the process of you doing that, you're still in the present moment, but you're also thinking of something that you want to manifest, that you want to create, that you want to attract. And if you're doing this with a partner that you love and you trust, you can both share this information with each other before that act, so that both of y'all are on one accord, or as it says in the scriptures, where 2 or 3 are gathered together. So it's kind of like y'all on the same wavelength, the same mindset, and y'all are going at the same pace energetically, by stimulating the 5 senses as opposed to just the touch aspect, but all the other things. And then when y'all in that communion with each other, especially at that moment of orgasm, y'all can collectively tap into that sixth sense or that spiritual aspect to where it can benefit you. But when you look at corn websites, there is nothing really affirming. There is mostly just lustful, temporal, get this out, relieve your stress, all these things, to where, again, it becomes an addiction to where you'll put yourself in situations that necessarily may not be good for your well-being, all because now there is this compulsion to escape whatever situation. And like he mentioned, your mind getting that false sense of connection, that false sense of being away from your problems and your issues just for you to crash, and we're back here again, you know. But anyway, let's continue.
And then you need the next fix. It can become a true addiction in the conventional sense, like a drug. It can become that. If there's a sexual impulse, let's say you look at a man or a woman and there's a slight sexual impulse, you can just be with that. And that's the beginning of Tantra. Don't need to go anywhere, or don't need to go up to that person and say whatever your pickup line is. But just be allowed to watch the beauty of it, the male form, the female form, and be aware. And at any
Exactly, and no shade, even with me, like I said, there are a few people in my mind who I use as conduit for like those romantic situations. And even when I see their social media posts and them doing things like, I acknowledge, of course, the attraction there, but I also acknowledge the beauty of them walking in their gifts, the beauty of them growing in their gifts, the beauty of them owning it, which I think also adds another heightened sense of attraction. So it's kind of like you can still admire someone from afar without, again, having to, let me go ahead and get this out. Like, no.
stage, bring awareness to it. This applies to anything that tends to make you unconscious, any strong urge. If you, like, let's say, overeating, if that is your urge, if you can bring awareness to the impulse of wanting to eat before acting on it, that is Tantra too. Anything that usually pulls you to unconsciousness, when you bring awareness into it, you actually use it in your growth of awareness. The very thing that before made you unconscious can then be used and make you more conscious. So if your impulse is to overeat, and in the middle of the night you find yourself, without you knowing it, you got up and your hand is on the refrigerator door, and in that moment you wake up, I mean truly wake up, and feel the urge to open the door and take out the chocolate cake.
Or that Moose Track ice cream.
Then you can observe the impulse inside you. You can sit down for a couple of minutes and feel this urge to indulge in the need to take something in, and feel it fully. And you may find sometimes it subsides as you bring awareness to it. It begins to subside. If it doesn't subside, maybe you still have to eat the chocolate cake, but at least there was some awareness and if you bring awareness into the eating, because it's only you really overeat when you lose awareness. If you eat consciously, we have Janine here who wrote a book about it. She could talk to you much better, explain it much better than I can. So bring awareness to the act of eating, then I believe I've never actually had the problem of overeating. I've had other addictions, but that wasn't one. If you bring awareness to it, the desire to overeat, I would say, would quickly subside. to eat consciously. So anything that pulls you usually towards unconsciousness, use it as awareness practice. There could be any other addiction too. Whatever substance you use, feel the need inside you, feel it arise, watch it, observe it, allow it to be there so that it doesn't take you over. It's only when you're unaware that these things can completely take you over. So you're not fighting it as such. Awareness never fights it. Awareness is really the space in which it arises, and because you're not fighting against it, you're not pushing it down. Don't do that with sex, because they've tried that for hundreds of years. Ascetics, religious practices, pushing it down, it makes it far worse, because then it seeks channels that are actually quite destructive.
That part.
Because sexuality is such an enormous urge, you can't push it down.
Come on.
Rather than pushing it down, it would be preferable to have a different sexual partner every night. It's probably preferable to pushing it down. So that's not the answer. But to meet it in awareness, that's where whatever would usually be an addictive urge that makes you unconscious, meet it in the space of awareness, where then it comes in there and it goes, and maybe another wave comes, and in that spaciousness that you are, it comes in and it's like a dark cloud. It comes into the space of the blue expanse, and then it goes, and then another one comes. So whatever the impulse is, awareness is the answer, not fighting against it, and of course cutting the link also in sexuality, especially the link between thinking and the sexual urge. Otherwise, it can keep you awake at night.
All right, y'all. That was Eckhart Tolle's explanation on sex, which, again, I just feel like there's so much about things that we don't know that we've been low-key demonizing. And I mean, there's information out there, but then because we've been so indoctrinated that if we were to start becoming more educated, we would still have to deal with the whole fear of, oh my God, I'm doing something that's taboo, or woo-doo-woo. Like, I feel like there's one or two things. You can either continue down the spiral of fear, which means that someone else will always be in control and you will never be in control of your own stuff. Or you could face the fear like so many others and walk in their truth, even if their truth, quote unquote, unfortunately, costed them their life. The gag is we're going to die anyway, so wouldn't it be better to just live as opposed to literally, quote unquote, live longer, but really be living more of death than life just to die at the end? So it's like, if you're living in a society that says damned if you do, damned if you don't, I think the best thing to do is probably just fucking do it. Especially if it betters your life and your awareness. So in the midst of all of this Project 2025 situation and election situation, Christian situation, like, I just wanted to add more context and nuance and let all y'all know that at the end of the day, we have to find our own power. No one is coming to save us. You gotta save you first before there can even be an us. If we try to do it the other way around, we will always fail, because that's what the other party is doing as well. That's what the other individuals who really want to see the downfall of humanity are doing as well. They're working from the other way as opposed to working internally and dealing with it. What's up, Harry? You came in toward the end of the live. You're going to be part of the replay gang. But anyway, thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button as well as the notification bell so that you can stay up to date with all of my lives and edited work. Please make sure to share my videos. I want to ask you to do that going forward, just so that we can continue to have more contextual and nuanced conversations in different areas where it desperately needs to happen. And if you feel compelled, you can definitely hit my Cash App, $BubzDaGawd. I'm gonna say the motherfucking God. BubzDaGawd. Anything you send is dope. Again, we putting in that work. We're a one-man army right now, okay? We working on ourselves. So anything that you send will definitely be appreciated. Shout out to Harold in the building. Please let me know your thoughts in the replay king. Shout out to Queen Stevie. Shout out to Queen Spicy. Yeah. Shout out to you. And shout out to those in the bushes. And shout out to the replay gang. I'm about to go ahead and make me something to eat as I listen to this T.S. Madison live and get my whole life, because we need to have that conversation and have it now. No shade. So again, shout out to y'all. If you want to learn more about the information that was shared in this video, please click the links down below and subscribe to their YouTube channels, because I'm pretty sure they have something that can help benefit you in a humanistic way, not in a boxed in way, but a humanistic way, that regardless of whatever your life path is, I feel like there are universal tools that you can use so that you can carve out your best life in the way that you see fit. So with that being said, thank y'all. And until next time, everybody, all right, peace.